Hello everybody, my name is William and this is an assignment for English didactic subject. In this video, I will talk about task-based learning approach, origin, principles, classroom roles, pros and cons, and so on. After this, let's get started. Let's talk about the origin. Did you know that task-based learning is a subcategory of the communicative approach? While the communicative approach is focused in collaborative learning, task-based, as the name says, is focused to complete a task. According to Jane Willis in 1986, says, a task can be defined as an activity where the target language is used by the learner for a communicative purpose to achieve an outcome. As we see, it's not exactly based to work in groups. So TVL plays students to real-life situations in which they can use their skills. TVL was popularized by N.S. Prabhu, an English teacher from India. Prabhu noticed that his students could learn the language easier with a non-linguistic problem as when they were concentrated on linguistic questions. In the 1970s, he worked as an English language specialist, studying the approach in teaching secondary schools from southern India. In 1994, he conducted a 5-year project of teaching English in state primary schools, employing task-based activities, of course, and later retired from the National University of Singapore and US. Principles. Some of the principles of TVL are: making errors is part of the process. Make a mistake is natural, of course, and apply for everything you're learning. Exposure to comprehensible input is crucial. Remember that in the task process, students must be immersed in the target language. Learning task, facilitating learners to engage in interactions, a principle that TVL shared with the communicative approach. Encouraging learners to produce the target language that facilitates learning. This enables teachers to see if students are developing the language. Teaching and learning processes should foster motivation and minimize learning anxiety. Of course, make students feel comfortable and motivated is one of the most important things in language teaching. Language learning tasks should be varied to cater for the needs of extroverts and introvert learners. As teachers, we have to take into account the type of learners and their needs to make those weaknesses into strengths. Moving forward to classroom roles, we have the teacher roles, selector and sequencer of tasks. Teachers can assign tasks based on students' characteristics, preparing learners for tasks. Before the task completion, teachers familiarize the class with topic-related words and phrases, give instructions, brainstorming, provide ideas, clarify doubts, and motivate learners to achieve the goal, of course. Provide feedback. After the activity is accomplished, the teacher may provide feedback about the learner's language accuracy. Students' roles. Of course, participation. Active participation during the task to familiarize students to the target language. Lead role in their own learning. Prabhu demonstrated that in task stage, the learners perform the activities by themselves and learn from each other. Risk-taking and innovation. Nowadays, most of these tasks need to support of new technologies, making each product unique. Pros and cons. Pros. TVL can be applicable to all kinds of students and ages. Varied exposure to language, adaptable to teamwork or individual work. Free use of grammar and vocabulary, but These can also be a cons because emphasizes too much on task and communicating meaning that could have an impact on how to use the language correctly. So as teachers, we have to be really careful with that. Not motivated or creative students, extra resources to task development such as computers, internet, cameras, etc. requires a student's responsibility due to self-learning. After this, I can say that due to the characteristics of TVL, can be perfectly adapted for all ages and class settings. For children by using simple tasks such as plan a party, create a comic or story, also describe my house. The only negative aspect we have seen is that students and teachers should be ready with the resources to develop these activities. I think for elementary students, they can perform activities like short dramas and expositions, even if they are at a basic level. I would give students freedom to choose any topic they want and be creative. But of course, check it with me before. Mhm. Also, TVL can be applied for a large group of students. As an example, teenagers and adults that can work in groups or individually, depending on many factors such as schedule, introverts availability, or even virtual learning. But in the process, teachers can take advantage for a large group by making students learn from each other. To conclude, I can tell you that this video is an example of task-based learning because this was a task assigned to me. I made a research of the approach, created a presentation with my creativity, of course, my tools, and using the target language, which is English. All this in my own way. So this is all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.